I got into commercial power washing. I advocate everyone do this. That came out to about $1,800 of stop. We probably do between 400, 500, 600 maybe of coil cleaning.
It's 600 grand?
Yeah.
Dang.
Next year, we'll do $450,000 of crystal lights. Get a yard sign. The yard sign is the single best thing you could have. I've done millions of dollars based on that yard sign. He takes a couple rock flyers and goes and throws them in the driveway. That is how to market residential service. I sold the service before I had it.
I say this all the time. Sell it before you have it. Welcome to the Kerner office. You are going to love today's episode. I ran into this guy on Twitter named Daniel, and he started a power washing business 12 years ago in Northeast Pennsylvania, and he is a rock star. He's been running this for about 12 years. It's a 7-figure business. We talk super in-depth, in detail about power washing, HVAC coils at grocery stores and residential, and new business lines in the home service niches that people could start. This is maybe the most tactical, specific, granular, exactly step 1, 2, 3, how to start a home service business, how to get your first customers episode that I've ever published. You're going to love it. I couldn't stop talking to the guy. I was getting so much energy out of our conversation. So this is going to be split into 2 episodes. The second one will be a week from today. So next Monday. He started washing roofs. Then he started power washing. He does Christmas lights. He does permanent lights. And he is a savant at acquiring customers in creative ways, which you know I'm a sucker for. Enjoy. Well, why don't you start by just telling us who you are and what you do and where you're from?
My name is Danny Cronauer. I'm from Northeastern Pennsylvania. I was supposed to be a gym teacher and it never worked out, so didn't make it. And I ended up starting a roof cleaning soft wash business. Had some success with that. Was making some bucks that I was like, can I retire? And just set it on autopilot, and really geared it towards lifestyle of not clocking in. You was able to have some free time and also some money to kind of play around. And then I realized it wasn't enough money. So I wanted to do something else. And I wanted to scratch. My hometown had a gym. The gym failed. And so I started calling the guy, researching why it failed, talking to get his personal insight. Then my brother and I physically built the gym. Then caring for employees, I started a Christmas lights business. Now I have a little bit of a construction company that I was just working on before we jumped on the call here.
Okay. So what got you to start the first roof washing business, and how big did that get? What were the numbers like?
I was a substitute teacher trying to make it, and I was actually playing Diablo 3, which, by the way...
Oh, no, that's my favorite. Dude, Diablo 2 was me in high school, after 2003, 4, 5. I had a barbarian named Gub Tesley, necromancer. Oh, man, you are speaking my language.
We're best friends. So... This is why, going back to before we were recording, I said people want to hear about you. That's amazing. I don't know if you give it credit. I give it credit. Diablo 2 created the business person I am today.
Yes.
My dad was like, hey, I need your help cleaning the roof. And I'm the oldest of 4. My sister's graduation party was coming up, and he wanted to clean our roof for the party. First off, I'm like, who looks at their roof? Second of all, whose roof's dirty? And none of that makes sense. And so I'm like, sure. So I come outside. He has a Breaking Bad setup. It's a kiddie pool filled with chemicals running through our old power washer. And our ladder at the time didn't even reach the roof. So our ladder's against the house. And I'm holding the power washer above my head. And he's telling me where to aim. And so I sprayed the whole roof. I came down off the ladder. I kid you not, by the time I got down off the ladder, the roof was clean. I was like, wow, that was really impressive.
It was extra impactful because you couldn't see it being clean. You were flying blind.
I was flying blind.
It was like a before and after. You performed the before and after, but you weren't able to see it in the process.
That's exactly what happened. And I was blown away. So I was walking around my parents, they lived with my parents. I was walking around their neighborhood. So I was probably 22. And I recognized a bunch of these houses had this problem. I was like, wow, I couldn't stop looking at it. I hit a mailbox by accident because when I was driving, I'm looking at all these roofs. So well-manicured houses, great landscaping, houses are taken care of, roof looks really bad. A $400,000 house with a $400 looking roof. And so I kind of got into that. Started reading forums, back when forums were a thing, figuring out how people took care of this, what it was, researching all about it. And my dad had an engineering background, so he helped us put together our first Breaking Bad, once again, rig that just looked like it came from a meth trailer. We did another roof that we knew, and the problem was there's a thing called lichen, Lichen, that didn't come off. It's
you see that in Seattle, where it's high moisture areas, right?
Yeah, so I'm not sure you'll see it on like rocks or trees here. Like it kind of grows kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Some people equate it to like a good air quality, but I'm not exactly sure why. Moisture definitely is a thing, but the lichen didn't come off. So first like 3 months, I was like panicking, like, oh, this sucks. Like all the black streaks are gone. The roof looks really good, but they have this bird poop on there, right? That's exactly what it would look like. And then sure enough, it came off. So after I actually took, I'm not sure if you have this background too, it'd be funny. Cutco sales, you know, Cutco knives.
I know it, but no, I never did it myself.
So
You're
I
checking
sold
all the
Cutco.
boxes. Did you?
Yeah,
You
no,
sell
I sold
religion door
Cutco.
to door too? That's what I did.
No, that I couldn't be further from that one.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was my
But
equivalent of Cutco. Door to
yeah,
door
exactly.
sales.
That was your equivalent of Cutco. And what that was for you was just getting over rejection, right? The fear of rejection is gone. Checked out of the chat. And so Cutco taught me like cold calling and following up with people I didn't know, going to present at their house. Like these are all things I was able to sell to people. And so I knew the product, loved Cutco knives. I had them, grew up with them in my house. So easy to sell. I literally took my Cutco training book. I opened it up, and the first thing they had was a picture of the Cutco building with an American flag. And I'm like, what is this page doing? Like this page is establishing rapport with the customer, right? They're an American company. They're actual real. So I planned my business later that week after I cleaned that first roof with the Cutco sales book. And I just took the Cutco sales book. I'm like, what are they doing in this page? What are they doing in this page? The next page was their complete homemaker set. It was the biggest, most badass, thing they had. Or actually, the second page was a drawer of knives that was like completely distraught. Like it looked like someone just dumped them from Salvation Army, and they weren't taken care of. It wasn't pretty. Wooden handles, they were like growing bacteria on them. They're showing the problem that the customer was going to have. And then the next page, of course, is how we're going to fix that problem. So I didn't reinvent the wheel. I just took Cutco's wheel and applied it to Apex Soft Wash and how we're going to sell and perform and do leads. It was good.
So you started going door to door with those principles?
Postcards, mailers, flyers, door to door, all of it. Yeah, I really, I tried everything as far as advertising goes to see what kind of work. Built a website. It's really important. At the same time, I was kind of the unemployed teacher. I worked for a guy who had a medical surgical equipment company. And my job was to like build out his Google AdWords for him. So I was studying how that worked at the same time of launching the business. And so I just knew like he would walk in and there would be orders on his desk that just automatically got printed from somebody hitting the submit button, and really knew how important a website was for just selling it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. So yeah, I got the website up and running. Of course, it looked terrible because it was like the first one I built. But yeah, the roof cleaning business, as quickly as I got into roof cleaning, I knew that it was going to be flooded with competitors. So I wanted to see what else I could do to like diversify that or get into more of a niche market, because I mean, I was a 22-year-old kid who started a roof cleaning business in like 2 weeks, and I knew I was the first person in my area to do it. And I just knew it was a matter of time before people caught on to how good this really was, that they were going to start doing it as well.
What were your sales like the first year or two?
We did about 100 grand the first year. I
Wow.
was 50 roofs, and
As
so
a
I wanted to
20-year-old,
hit 50 roofs.
22-year-old.
Yep, which was great. That was, but it got me the confidence to explode and like really like understood that this concept worked.
It was a $2,000 service?
No, it would vary a bit. Like so,
I
one
thought you
roof could
said
have been
50 roofs. Okay.
We did about 50 roofs, yeah, and then we added some house washing in there as well, some gutter brightening. Things that once we were there for whatever that call would be, we could add on services to that. And then I got into like commercial power washing. This is a one I love, which I advocate everyone do this. I sold the service before I had it. So
I say this all the time. Sell it before you have it.
Sell before you have it. Yeah. So I wanted to get a hot water power washer. They're like $7,000, but I always took money, which I think is important too. Any money I had, I paid myself the least. And I don't pay myself first. I know it's a book. People talk about that. I'm like dead last. I want to make sure my people can eat first and everyone else, and I will just live off of whatever is left over. So yeah, we had a good year, but of course I was spending a bunch of money on postcards and advertising, because really no one had any idea what roof cleaning even was in my area. It was a brand new concept. So I was kind of spending a lot of money educating, but bought a snowplow that year. So I had something to do in the wintertime. And then next year rolled around, bought a better rig for roof cleaning. And then, just constantly, reinvesting money back into the company. But I wanted that hot water power washer. So I went and door to door, I went to a restaurant and sold them a power washing that you needed the hot water to do it. So they said, yep, called the guy up, bought the power washer, put it in the back of the truck, and you went and did that job. Unfortunately, the line they put on to that unit was like an 80 psi line or 40 psi line and needed to be like a 200 psi line. So that line happened to be a diesel fuel that exploded all over me. So
Oh man.
it was like 7 a.m. covered in like 2 gallons of diesel. And I remember my employee like yelling at me, being like, "What are you doing?" Of course, he's also my friend at the time, meaning like everyone hires their friends.
Mm-hmm.
But it really was like my like click in my head moment that that person was going to be stuck in their way. And like, I never would be because I was
Mm-hmm.
doing something I've never done before. I'd never
Yeah.
cleaned. We did hundreds of roofs at this point. You know, roofs were easy for us. They make great money, good margins, but I was okay with failing
Yeah.
or doing a bad job or whatever to figure
Yeah.
this
That's how
out.
you
So
learn.
that's
Move
how you
fast and
learn,
break
right?
things.
So he like lost it because like the job was not going well. I'm covered in diesel fuel, and I'm like, "Yo, it's okay. Like we're good. You know, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna learn what's going on." Called the guy up, told my line exploded. He told me just pinch it shut or put a screw in there to so it's not bypassing anymore, and we got the job done. And then the hot water unit led to me getting contracts with Walmart and doing other jobs and making 100x that power washer cost. You know, whatever it might
How
be.
did you get a job with Walmart?
Those religious guys, they're good people. So I've met a family who, two brothers, John and Tim, who were part of like a religious commune, and like their dad was like the head dude. Like they didn't have bank accounts till they were like 20, but maybe 30 years old because the religion took care of all. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. I don't know. But I met these guys at a event, power washing event, and guy asked the question, anyone do work for Walmart? And only two guys raised their hands. And it was these two dudes. And I went and talked to them afterwards and asked them how they got in and became friends with them. They were great people and still friends with them to this day. And they showed me like how to do it. And it was definitely one of the hardest things I did in my life was to complete their like vendor packet to become a Walmart vendor. There's so many requirements and limitations. Like it's easier to do work for the federal government than it is to do work for Walmart.
Wow.
Like
It's
Walmart
a
is
lot of red
tough.
tape.
Oh, so much. And that I believe 90% of it's there just to take out the bums from even
Yeah.
applying, you know?
Yeah.
But
Which is great. Like like in my head, the more I see that red tape and friction, the more I want to power through because it's like no one's going to get through this, or no one's going to get through that. All the more reason I need to, right?
yeah, and that was kind of how I felt too. Like I knew that Walmart was a possible golden ticket. So then I started to have to sell, which they gave me like almost like the instruction. It's funny actually. I didn't at the time know they gave me the instructions that the Walmart employee was supposed to use because
Wow.
somebody they knew figured it out, and the Walmart employee didn't know how to do it. Like the Walmart employee's like, I don't know how to put me in. You put you in the system. And I'm like, here you go. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is how you do your job. And so I was able to clean a couple of Walmarts on a nice monthly basis because I also wanted to get that recurring revenue. I was always attracted to that. Doing roofs was great.
How much revenue were those jobs?
Walmart's, we would do their storefronts for $1,000 each, and then I had 7 of them at the time, and then we do their bathrooms. Like that was kind of the way in. They told me like all these managers. So interesting. Walmart only has 2 bathrooms, front and back, right? They don't have a private bathroom for the manager. They purposely make their managers use the same
That's
bathrooms
smart.
as
Smart.
the customers
Keep it
do.
clean.
Keep it clean. So the what I was told was go in and say you'll clean their bathrooms too. And so we same equipment, we'd power wash the storefront with, and we'd also like their concrete outside. Then we'd also go into there's usually a door right in the middle of Walmart to get to their front bathroom, and then a door around the back to get to the back bathroom. So power wash their bathroom. So that came out to about $1,800 a stop, and we'd have 7 of them that we do on a monthly basis.
Wow. So we're talking 12 grand a month, recurring, predictable, just from one client.
Yeah, Walmart's are great. Yeah.
What are the margins on that, like that job specifically?
I'm glad you said that specifically because margins power washing varies a lot based on what job you do. Walmart doesn't allow you to use chemicals, like it's against Walmart's policy. Like they don't want anyone getting burned, so it just water's free, gas and labor there. So the Walmart margins are at least 50% on a job like that.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yep. And then probably our next biggest break was a guy who worked for me doing sales. He knew a guy who had a large company in the area, and this guy knew that we had power washing equipment, and they had a contract with Wawa to do their HVAC. So it's December, which is not the time to do this power washing work. It's 21 degrees, we drive to this Wawa to clean condenser coils. So every grocery store, every refrigeration unit, every AC unit, they have these condenser coils, and they really need to be cleaned once a year. I had no idea what I was doing. The guy at the time was a technician, Rob. He met me on site. I go start up the engine. It's frozen. It was 21 degrees. Like, but they asked me to do the job. So it's like, you say jump, we say how high. You know, that's kind of how we roll. He took a torch, thawed out our pipes, got us up and running, and we were able to power wash these coils on these the ice machines or the AC units on these Wawa. So Wawa had some extra money at the end of the year, like, hey, just go spend it on whatever. So they called us to do it.
All right. If you are watching this clip right now, you are watching this on YouTube. And if you are a fan of podcasts, please check out my podcast while you're at it, because sometimes I have podcasts that aren't on YouTube and sometimes I have YouTubes that aren't on podcasts. So check out the Kerner Office on any podcast platform, or you can go to tkopod.com. Also, my newsletter, we'll throw that in there. There are no ads. It's weekly. It's different content than my podcast and YouTube. Newsletter.chrisjkerner.com. You'll see the link, and we'll see you there.
It worked out pretty well. Like, this is great. Like, water, gas, like, that's it. Like, no chemicals. Like, go ahead and spray.
And were you only spraying the coils, or?
We're only spraying the coils.
That's crazy. Are there companies that only spray coils?
Yes. There might be two that I know. In the Northeast, I know. But they kind of travel all over.
Could you see that being an opportunity? Like hyper niche power washing?
Yeah, it's actually all I focus on. It's the best. Yeah.
That's amazing.
You know, I made money power washing, right? I could control my own schedule. I quickly got into the niche, right? Like, into that selective type work, which is coil cleaning. You can't go clean coils because you don't know what you're doing. And if you mess something up, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So that same company who we did work for, we did a good job. They call us the next spring. Like, hey, you want to wash some more coils? And we're like, yeah, like, absolutely. Like, that was the best work we had. And then started to try to identify more refrigeration companies who we could get in with and do some more work. So
real quick, what are the unit economics like on a coil job like that? How long does it take? How much do you charge?
And we wash coils all over at this point, but primarily we're washing them at grocery stores. So think of actually, we'll use it, for example, Oven Book. Aldi's. People know Aldi's, familiar with an Aldi's. The size of them are about the same. We would get $350 per store for an Aldi. That's how much, $350. There's a reason that is low. Aldi's are all built the same. We know exactly
standardized.
They're standardized. Like, standardized just saves so much time for our employees. Like, they could close their eyes and know right where the ladder access is, how to shut the unit down, right? Like, all that stuff. And the best part about coil cleaning is it happens every year. So as soon as the pollen hits, it gets sucked up to the coils are dirty, they have to have it done. So we know
is the need greater where you are because of the pollen, or is this nationwide just as much demand?
I would think it's probably just as big, if not bigger, in the South, because I'm assuming they still have pollen. Or, like, we do some work in Ohio. They have, like, cottonwood. This area has this cottonwood problem, and it just sticks right to the unit. I should have prefaced with, I was on a snowboard trip last year. I was screaming playing volleyball, so I lost my voice. I don't smoke packs a day, I swear.
Yeah, you're good. So $350 for an Aldi, and how long does that take?
About 25 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's because we know what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
But then we might have, like, a Sam's Club, right? We might do a Sam's Club, and we'll probably get like $1,800 for their refrigeration, and then maybe another $1,000 for their AC. So they'll have the refrigeration for all their coolers, right? And then they'll have their AC units that they might be on the roof or on the ground. Some of these are on the ground. It's even better. Walmart has these. They're called we call them rack houses. They're just it almost looks like someone dropped a trailer, and it's all their compressors and their units, like, on top of it. And they would be between $1,000 and $1,800. Typically, we don't use chemical, but you might have, like, it's almost like negligent. It's like $60, $50 worth of chemical on a job, but just travel and labor.
Beautiful.
Just yesterday, I sent an email out to a company to say, like, hey, like, this is what we do. And the best part about this niche is that every HVAC refrigeration company will tell you the same thing, that they don't have enough techs. They don't have enough guys. So my conversation usually goes like this. Hey, we have guys and rigs built to coil cleaning. You don't have guys.
Sub out the cleaning to us. Is that who's normally doing coil cleaning, or HVAC companies and not power washing companies?
It's typically like the greenhorns of HVAC. And they hate it. Like, the HVAC guys are like, I went to school to work on stuff and build it out and redo this. And they're making me clean these coils, and they're cleaning coils with, like, a garden hose and just a bad setup. And, we've kind of fine tuned that to really clean them fast. Or, like, We do a building. It's probably 3,000 feet long. Like they don't have a garden hose. Like they can't do it. They're nowhere near the water. Like your pressure drops on a water hose after like 50 feet. Imagine after 5,000 feet, So
this is a B2B business, but are you even approaching the Aldis of the world? Or are you only approaching the HVAC companies or the refrigeration companies that service Aldis? Or do you go through both of them?
it's typically the HVAC company who services. I have done both and haven't had success going right to the customer. It's better to go right to the HVAC company because the HVAC company kind of controls who works on it.
The incentives are more aligned there too, because you're saving them money, like you're saving them time. Whereas when you go to Aldi, like you're selling, you're just another sales guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's an easy sell to an HVAC company.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think I know the answer to this, but is there any world where this could be a residential service that you offer, coil cleaning?
No, people have asked it before
as like a preventative maintenance,
Yeah, no, it absolutely should be done on residential. And I've had people asking for it. Why I said no, I meant because of logistics. Like, it's something I do. Like my skill set is they'll give me 180 stores. Like, hey, Danny, here's the year's list. Go get them done. And there's 110 of those are Aldi's, right? And say, go watch these stores. And my job is to plan that out and coordinate that. Yes, somebody like, Chris Hoffman, who has 1,000 customers, he might say, hey, Danny, like, here's 1,000 customers, go clean their coils. And he might sell it for 150 and then pay me 100, right? And we just pull up and go do it. So is there a residential need for it? Yeah, that's a really good example. I had someone ask me about residential and my answer was like, it's not worth it for us. Just because I know.
Well, you're already at scale, but for a guy that's never done this before, that could be one route. Like I'm comparing this to like trash bin cleaning.
Oh, 10
years ago.
Yeah, sure.
Is there a business for cleaning someone's trash bin? Like, no. Like, why? Just because it smells like once a month? Like, no. It's like, it never fails to surprise me what people are willing to pay for.
Yeah, and your coils should be done, but it goes back to your HVAC guy is probably going to control that. So how often do you have your HVAC guy come to your house?
Almost never.
Almost never, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The HVAC company can easily add a bunch of money and say, hey, like, Chris, you want your AC to work more efficiently? You should have this done every year.
Yeah.
And that's a sell. Like, you're going to decide yes or no to that.
If someone were attacking the residential side of this, would you recommend that they go through HVAC companies just as you're doing with commercial companies?
Yeah, because some of these HVAC companies will have like preventive maintenance packages with these homeowners, and they'll add like they're like their contract says they're doing it, and that's exactly what's happening in commercial. The contract said they're doing it, and they weren't doing it because they did not have enough guys. So like
interesting.
And the unit would break down and the company would go fix it, but it comes from their bottom line there. And so like sometimes they don't want to do it, but contractually they're obligated to do it. And for them, it was really easy for us to say like, yeah, just go have these guys do it. Taking some off of your plate is just as valuable as hiring a new person for this company.
Is the non-standardization of it a challenge? How many different HVAC units are out there? Or is it more simple so it doesn't matter as much as it does in commercial?
With residential, it's very easy. Just unplug it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Residential.
Yeah. Residential. Yeah. Very easy residential. Okay. Once again, comes to seasonality. The problem with coil cleaning is it has this window. It's a March through July window, really March through June, that you got to get this stuff done because you want this unit to work efficiently as possible in July heat or August heat, or, for Pennsylvania when it gets really hot. You don't want to do it in February because the pollen doesn't happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's a little bit of a window there you have to deal with, which makes scaling a little harder, and trying to work like hiring people to do it in a certain window is the tough part. But then you have ways to fill that in. We can talk about power washing for forever. But yeah, as far as coil cleaning, I can look it up, but we probably do between 400 and 500, 600 maybe of coil cleaning.
600 grand?
Yeah.
Dang, that's amazing.
And the best part is it comes around every year. So like, I used to sweat, like just having roof cleaning to do.
Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't recurring really, right?
No recurring. No, it's 12 years old. So like the business has some clout, people know us and recognize it now. But for a while, like, I'd sit here on January 1st and look at myself and be like, I have no money. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to do, I have no idea. I don't know. The economy goes bad, whatever. I have no idea how much work we're going to do. And now with the coil cleaning, I can pretty much predict like we're going to have 500, 600 grand with the coil cleaning, again, or more, because I'm going to start hammering more companies, or we're going to expand further south or west, whatever we start doing. We actually did a bunch of work in Ohio last year, 6-hour drive, no problem. the company which is also a great way to look at things. I think you could kind of relate to Bucky's success. Like just ride the coattails of somebody else. This
Piggyback.
other company kept growing, expanding their footprint, and they're like, "Hey, Danny, you guys are coming with us. Like, we're going to North Carolina. We just opened a branch up. We don't want to hire a new guy for 80 grand. So you guys just do it and we'll pay you 25 grand."
Yeah.
And like, perfect. Where are we going next? You know?
And so many people would be like, nah, we don't, nah, no. But like you uncover beautiful things when you just say yes to things. And you can always back out later, right? But just say yes to everything.
Yes to opportunity is like advice I definitely give people. Say yes to opportunity.
So your current business started as a 22-year-old just washing roofs, and then you just started exploring. Then you started doing, storefronts and all kinds of stuff. Then you landed on coil cleaning, and coil cleaning is not everything, but now you essentially still have the same business today, but you're doing all kinds of different services.
Yeah, so I still have a residential branch, which I call the residential division, and it's just like three guys who run that. They're talking about adding another truck this year because they were kind of overwhelmed. But so they might have five guys over there just do residential cleaning. They'll do 300 to 350 of residential cleaning a year, so similar along the lines of rolling suds. That's accurate information they're given. And then commercial wise, about 4 trucks, 2 techs each truck, and we'll do gas stations, coil cleaning, water towers. So actually just great networking. I met a guy who was in charge of these water towers. And I'm like, yo, they're so dirty. He's like, yeah, I know, but I need someone who can clean them. And red tape to work for a utility company, you have to like really have your stuff together. They can't just pick up Joe's Power Washing from. So most of my successes come from making power washing a legitimate business, right? And people look at power washing as like a Home Depot guy, right? And they don't want Home Depot guys. They want a legitimate business. And we like 100 feet tall, 80 feet tall, 60 feet tall, all different tanks. I think we did. Now, last year we didn't do too many, but the year before we had about 11 different sites that we did these tanks for. And this is for a water company, but like every state has water companies, right? So now I'm like, oh, well, we did them for Aqua America. Why not do them for, New Jersey America or whatever, it might be. And they just pay such better rates. Like I really love the saying, like, don't compete, dominate. I don't compete because competing is down here, right? I just dominate. I go to this level where like it's very few players are at, right? And there's so much more money at the top than there is at the bottom.
No one competes to be the highest price. They're all competing to be the lowest.
Yeah. And I'm just competing to be a professional power washing company. And there's very little professional power companies out there.
What does a water tower job pay? And how long does it take?
They quote between $6,000 to $12,000 per water tower, and around a lift. Lift might be 800 to $2,000 depending on the size of the lift, and we could do it in a day.
Wow!
And
beautiful.
There's some bleach involved, so maybe $200 worth of chemical, $100 worth of gas, and then just labor and profit.
That's
great.
Amazing.
Yeah, water towers are really so. I'm really starting to focus more on those higher margin, higher dollar stuff. I had Turkey Hill is a gas station near where we are in Pennsylvania. There's 240 Turkey Hills in Pennsylvania. And I put a bid together to bid all the Turkey Hills. And I got the bid, and the guy calls me up and says, hey, can you take any more? I'm like, well, what do you have? He's like, well, I have 500 more across like Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So you know where this is going. I said, yes. And so I'm like, sure. And then he like gives me the work, and he left out Pennsylvania. I'm like I said yes to Massachusetts and New York and all Connecticut because we're going to do Pennsylvania too.
Yeah, it's a package deal.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah. All right. So then he gave me, so now I had both. Yeah. So we did, it was 2 years ago, we had 700 gas stations, and which sounds like a lot. And it definitely was. But the reality is gas station work sucks. Like the margin, I might make $100 a store.
Why? Because it takes so long?
No, because it is such a squeeze. Like
they have low margins, so they push that on you.
That's it. And my sales guy said to me, he goes, look, the reality is the person doing this bid and making this decision is in wherever Connecticut, and they are not going to lose their job because of a dirty Turkey Hill in wherever Pennsylvania. And the only thing they would lose their job for is going over budget. This is exactly what happened to me. The guy said my quote for a store was $800, and the other quote came in at like $450. The guy calls me. He's like, "Hey, just so you know, like someone else said they do it for $450." And I'm like, per store, 450 for a gas station. And I'm like, there's just no way it's possible. And he burst out laughing because he knew it. He knew there was no way it was possible. But he's like, look, you're going to do it for 450 or I'm giving it to this guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll do it for 450. And I told my guys, start a clock. When it hits 1 hour, leave. And
wow. Okay.
But
I mean,
like that's the battle you're fighting with a certain company's gas stations. And I've done other gas station companies which have much more pride. There's no homeless people sleeping in the backyard or in the dumpster or whatever, and like they paid a lot more money. It was good. So it's a different game depending on who you're playing with.
So that 450, is it one or two guys doing that job in an hour?
2 guys.
Okay.
And there's some Turkey Hills we did in 15 minutes. Yeah.
And what do you pay your guys? Like, what is your labor cost on a 450?
So I always paid my guys an hourly rate and a percentage. That's because I was taught that way. I had a coach I hired for a day, and that's what he kind of said that he did. And he had a successful power washing company. And I always kind of said to myself, like, yeah, no one wants to work just for an hourly rate. Like that sucks. Like you want to have some kind of vested interest in the job. So they would get like lead tech would get 5%, assistant tech would get 3%. Then, once again, the lead tech or the assistant tech kind of do what they're doing, they would get that 5%. And so right off the top, I was paying out 5% to each tech based on the job. So they love it too, because we get a water tower job and they're like, let's go.
I'm rich.
We're making good. Yeah, these guys can make $100 an hour, Yeah. And then there's some jobs they make 22. They always have like that base pay of $20 or 21, 22, between 17 and 22 hourly, rate, and then that percentage on top based on their experience and
okay,
what they bring to the table. Yeah.
All right. So when did you start doing Christmas lights?
I started doing Christmas lights probably about 8 years ago, and I kind of sold the power washing business to one of my employees, and I sold the business and the Christmas lights because that was a residential package kind of together. I was only doing Christmas lights for probably 2 years at that point, so I only had a few customers, and then it just worked out. The guy who I sold it to, he started making money, didn't know how to handle money, and I got the business back.
So he screwed it up.
He screwed it up, yeah.
Yeah.
He was making good money, and some people can't handle money, and that's what happened. And so I got the business back, and when I got the business back, I really hammered down Christmas lights. I took the Christmas lights from 12 customers, 250 customers, and once again, Christmas lights reoccurs, and there's nothing better than recurring revenue. I can tell you next year we'll do $450,000 of Christmas lights, and it's amazing.
Okay, remember, come back in 1 week from today and we'll play part 2. And that's the part where we really dial up the energy and get super specific about acquiring customers and other home service niches that really no one's thinking about or talking about. Thanks for stopping by.